Welcome back everyone to our gameplay series of Pure Farming 2018. So you might be wondering, why on earth are we standing right outside the Trade Center? It's clear from the top right hand corner of the screen that we have no money to spend, so there's no reason for us to be here, right? Well, it turns out there is. I got done recording an episode and trying to put it together, edit it, and prepare it, and realized as I was doing so that there were a lot of mic issues, and for a large portion of the video there was simply no mic sound at all. So I ended up not being able to use that footage. So if you look in the top left hand corner, we are on day 15. So we're definitely not picking up right where you guys last left off with the last released video. Unfortunately, none of that footage was usable, and I've already saved the game, so I couldn't exactly go back and redo it. So here we are. Now we need to talk a little bit about what we did in the last video that you guys missed because the footage was unusable. Thankfully, we got a lot done. We got another harvest from our orchards, although we had 2 days of rain, which made the yield quite a bit less. And the reason for that, and we've talked a little bit about this in the past when it's happened, is the rain for the orchards does two things. Number one, inexplicably, it removes all of your water storage. I'm not sure why, but it does. And then the second thing, which is what reduced our harvest, is that it reduces the percentage of spray that you have, the percentage of pesticide that you have in the orchard. When it does that, one of two things happens. If it makes the spray percentage low enough, then it means that you simply have the growth stops and you have to go respray. In our case, it didn't get that low, so the growth continued, but at a much lower percentage. And because it was raining, I couldn't exactly go back out and spray. So we ended up with a reduced harvest. On our initial two pear fields, where we normally get right at very close to 3 full trailer loads, this time we got just a touch over 2 trailer loads. It was like 2.1 or so, maybe 10-15% in that third trailer load. So a greatly reduced load. Same thing for our third orchard, our one apple orchard. Same thing happened there as well. But we did get a good amount of money, so it's not the end of the world. It just happened to be the way the weather fell for that particular time. We also got our normal funds from the pigsties, but the one thing I did not do is I did not get the money from the cows. If you'll remember, what we've been doing with the cows is we've been buying 45 calves, and then 3 days later, whenever they become adult cows, we've been selling them. Well, no longer. I had talked about getting into the milk production and starting to expand our income streams to some other sources, and we're going to begin doing that. So that's what we did in the last video. And at the very end of the video, we made some purchases. And they are our first purchases toward having dedicated equipment toward the servicing of the cows. And here they are. So we purchased our very first heavy tractor. And if you've seen the recent cow guide video that I did about how to raise them for profit, then you'll know I talk about using a heavy tractor in there as opposed to a medium tractor, particularly when it comes to dealing with the manure, the solid manure. And then we also purchased a liquid fertilizer tank. Let's take a look at both of these very quickly in the store. Okay, we have under trailers, if we scroll down, right over here next to the water tanks, we have the manure tanks. So there is a smaller one with a reduced capacity, and then a larger one with a much greater capacity, the 3,170 gallons. Now, for our purposes, that is a large enough capacity to allow us to take about 11% of the liquid fertilizer or the slurry storage. So about 11%. So we've gone ahead and purchased that, which is the largest one. And then we have our tractor, which let's go back into the store right quick and show you the tractor. So here's what we've been using. We've been using the HS80, which is one of the smallest, probably the smallest medium tractor that we could get. But if we come down a little bit, the 150 HD is the one we purchased. Now, I would have preferred to have the 160, but as you can see from our money totals, we didn't quite have enough, and I was ready to get going with the cows and our new adventures in income streams. So I went ahead and purchased the 150 HD, even though it has a little bit less horsepower and a little bit more fuel consumption. So those were our purchases. And now what we're going to do is we're going to head back over to our cow barn, and we're going to get started. Woo, look out. This thing right here is ready to go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and attach that, and rather than driving it back over there, it's really not that long of a drive from our storefront location back over to where we want to be, but let's go ahead and teleport anyway, just to save maybe a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and hook this up, because we are ready to make our first deliveries of the slurry. Okay, let's let everything get connected, and then we will be off and running. Okay, as we get a little closer to the cow barn, we'll actually be able to see the percentages that are available, and we definitely have more than enough slurry available in the tank to get, I believe it's going to be 2 full loads that we're going to be able to get this time through. Alright, here we go. The tank is just over on our right, an underground tank. There we go. So let's go ahead and transfer. And you can see that we get about 11% of the storage available. And that will reduce it to, 17% remaining, which means that we're going to have time for a second delivery. All right, so now where are we going? Again, if you've seen the guide that I did for the cows released a couple of days ago, then you'll know where we're headed. We're headed just past the rock separation on the map over to the biogas facility. And that's where we'll take both this liquid slurry as well as the solid manure whenever we get to that part. So we got a little bit more money to make before we can afford to purchase the front end loader and the bucket as well as the manure trailer. So we got a little bit of work to do there. But overall, we are in great shape. We're just going to head right down here to the actual paved road, and then that'll take us straight to where we want to be, more or less. All right, so you actually, it's not required that you have a heavy tractor for these implements, either the manure trailer or this slurry tank. But we're at a stage now where I want to get plenty of horsepower and plenty of power overall into the tractors and the implements that we're buying, because we might as well go ahead and spend a little bit of extra in order to get the horsepower we need, because I plan on this particular tractor being dedicated to our cow income rather than being shared with the orchards and so on. All right, now that we're here on the paved road, we'll go ahead and get there as soon as we can. Unfortunately, tractors aren't known for their road speed. Not really designed for that. So we'll see the amount that we pick up on this particular delivery. In my testing that I had done for the guide video for the cows, I had found that we would get about a little over $2,700 per full tank delivery. Let's see if that holds true here. We're also coming up on a hill that proved too much for the medium tractor in testing when I was doing this. I actually tried to, when I turned left and went up this hill, the medium tractor, the same one that we've been using for our other tasks, and one that you start out the game with in free mode, it could not make that hill with a full tank behind it. I had to actually stop, back my way down the hill, and then go straight at that point in time. So it gives you an idea of, you know, a certain tractor might be able to meet the minimum specs, but it doesn't mean it's going to be all that great of an experience to do so. All right, just off to the right, you can see our first section of solar panels that we purchased for 25 grand. Seems like quite a while ago that we purchased those, but I guess it hadn't been all that long. All right, here we go. So this is the place where we're going to sell both the solid manure as well as the slurry. So let's press H and we'll sell that, and we'll see how close to that 2,700 number that we get. There we go, 2,763. That'll work for me. The numbers will change. The game does have a stock market where the prices do change day to day. It's generally not by very much, so it's not not subject to the wild swings within the stock market. In fact, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the stock market itself. So if we come under the shop, you'll see the stock market here, and it has a selection to show you the price for everything that can be sold within the game. In this case, wheat is up to $5.97. You can see it started somewhere around $5.50 or so at the very beginning, or at least on day 6 rather. And then the same thing for all of this. And if we keep going, there's our milk. You can see milk prices continue to rise. I haven't seen any significant declines yet in the game. For the most part, these price graphs seem to stay relatively flat or go up somewhat. Okay, if we continue on, there's our pears. You can see for the most part they're fairly flat, maybe down just a touch from the beginning of the game. Cherries, wow, things are going really well for cherries. There's our the manure, and then the liquid fertilizer. Okay, so you can see every item there in the game has prices that can and do change. So now let's go ahead and speed things up by teleporting back to the shed, spending a little bit of cash to save us a little time, and then we will head back over and make another $2,700. And we'll be able to do this probably every 3 to 4 in-game days with the manure, the solid manure. But then the slurry will take a considerable amount more time to fill up to the 11% level that we would need in order to have a full load. So we'll definitely be working with the solid manure more than the liquid manure. But the liquid manure trailer is actually a good bit cheaper to get started on because of the equipment involved. Alright, oof, the game is not liking that. At this point, I think I've just sort of gotten used to that most of the time. Alright, I am resisting for the moment the temptation to just take off across the fields and just cut the course that way. I am trying to resist doing that, but boy is it tempting to do, particularly when the tractors are moving as slow as they are. However realistic it might be, it still makes for a long trip. Alright, in fact, you can see there in front of us that car looks like it's a slideshow moving across the road. Yeah, that is very odd to see. I'm sure it'll smooth out once we get up a little closer to it. Yep, and there it went. I could barely see it through the trees, but when you're far away from it, it looks like a slideshow. Alright, who knows? In the future, depending on the mod situation and how much of the game the developers open up to modding, we might have the ability to sell both the liquid fertilizer as well as the manure remotely. Currently, we have no way of doing that. If we want to earn profit from the sale of the liquid fertilizer and the manure, we have to purchase the necessary trailer or tank and deliver it ourselves. So a little bit of a downer there that these two things are not allowed to be done remotely. But again, if you're looking for increased difficulty in the game, then this will add some of that, because otherwise we've already seen there is a lot of money to be made with the cows, and if you allow everything to be sold remotely, even at a reduced profit percentage, it's still going to allow you to rack up quite a bit of income. Alright, there we go. You can see this heavy tractor takes that hill with ease. Loses a few miles an hour, but not all that much. Right, speaking of modding, I'm working on a video right now for the channel specifically about modding and sort of the current state of where things are. And I'm really hoping that the developers will open things up as soon as possible, really, to modding, and I hope they open up as much of the game as possible to it as well. The more options we have as a community, the better, so that we can all play this game the way we want to as individuals, rather than having to worry about how the developers want us to play the game. Alright, there we go. Another $2,700. And we will actually head back. There we go. So we'll head out of the tractor. So a very nice tractor there. We've already gotten it dirty, as you can see, just from our short travels back and forth. We've already got a little bit of dirt on the tractor itself. So as we come in and take our first look this video, under the notifications, you can see it's showing the 12% milk that is ready to be picked up. Unfortunately, if we take a look in the trailers, there's our milk trailer, $36,000. Of course, it'd be a little cheaper if we purchase it directly from the vehicle store where we started the video, but still going to be fairly expensive. But we'll be looking at doing that. Of course, our other option for the milk would be if we decide to sell it under the agricultural materials, we could simply do it that route. Okay, so a lot of options there. In fact, let's see what we could get if we sold what we have now. It's a little over $4,000. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. For right now, we'll just go ahead and sell it remotely as we continue to raise funds. And as we continue to raise funds, we will continue to purchase more equipment. As a matter of fact, that amount will get us enough money to, let's go under loaders, and we're just going to go ahead and purchase these remotely. So $6,000, and we're going to send it to shed 1. There we go. So $6,000, and then another $3,000 for the bucket. There we go. And they should be right over there. Indeed they are. And to me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, there is just something about a tractor. It just, to me, seems like it should have a loader on the front. It just, the bucket on the front just makes sense. The other alternative would be a different type of loader rather than just simply the bucket, but it just looks right. What am I doing? I'm backing in. Look at me. I've got done talking, got something else on my mind and completely forgot what I was doing. But yeah, just something about a tractor just looks right with the loader and bucket on the front. Whoops, looks like we already are a little bit too low. Can't even get up into the shed. Oh, you're going to make me work for this now, aren't you? Oops. Why are you not wanting to let me do this? Come on, game. Focus. You've been so nice to me in other areas. I mean, I'm right there, slamming into this thing. There we go. Finally, we get it attached. So let's go ahead and bring this bad boy back out here where we can see it. And again, I just think that's the way a tractor is supposed to look. That's how I'm used to them looking. I'll put it that way. All right, so let's go ahead and move this bad boy up. And let's head over to the cow barn here for a moment and take a look at some of our percentages and just sort of see where we are. Okay, we'll hop out. And again, we're about ready to start loading up that manure. But let's take a look at our percentages. So manure is at 80%. Let's move this around a little bit so we can see it better. Manure is at 80%. Our liquid fertilizer, which we just emptied most of, is now at 7%. No milk right now because we just emptied that out and sold it remotely. So we're doing great on the prepared fodder. No problem there. And although that's going to be a little different than what I showed you in the cow guide video, simply because if you'll remember going back to when we last sold our calves, I didn't fill up the fodder at that point. So I'll probably have to come back in and do so at some point in the future before we get to that day 12 and 13. But that's no big deal. But other than that, everything is going according to plan. I'm ready to get busy with our manure trailer, which is our next purchase, and then we'll be working on that milk trailer as well. But that's going to do it for our video today. That's mainly what I wanted to get done in today's video. If we take a quick look at our notifications, you can see everything is ready to go. When we come back next time, we'll actually move forward a couple of days and we'll be ready to sell some pigs and then get busy with our orchards once again. So that'll do it for now. Thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned more of our gameplay series of Pure Farming 2018.